any of the kids who are here who know I'm pretty good about that. But in the back, are you able to hear me or should I use the microphone? Beautiful. That works better. Unless, Nick, do I need the microphone? Okay, cool. All right, so welcome to the Nichols schedule. I'm really excited to have all of you here. I am Heather Tucker, or the students will refer to me as Dr. Tucker. I am your principal. I am going into my second year here at the Nichols as a principal, but I am in my 17th year as a school administrator. Teacher before that, so unfortunately I'm not a spring chicken, despite my good looks. Just kidding. Anyhow, so I want to welcome our two new assistant principals. We have Dr. David Gonzalez. Presentation. So, we'll take it away. Mr. Crocker, are you able to do that manually? Oh, here we go. Okay. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the schedule. I'm going to go over a little of the things that our schedule must have. I'm going to go over some of the technical details of the schedule, and then I'm going to tell you a little bit about how we made that schedule happen. And then I was trying to think of any little tips and tricks and things that people may have questions about. So we'll try and leave a few minutes for question and answers. So in the schedule, must-haves, when you see the name DESE, that is the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. And they have set rules that we have to follow on what's called time on learning. We have to have 990 minutes of time on learning to ensure that we're meeting everything that we need. We must have 3 30-minute lunch blocks because in the teacher's contract, they each get a 30-minute lunch. So 3 grades, 3 30-minute lunches. Teachers need a minimum of 45 minutes of planning each day, which is super important because that's when they're doing lesson planning for your students, they're analyzing data for your students, that's when they're contacting you, communicating with you. And teachers cannot teach more than 5 blocks in a day. We also, the geographical size of Middleborough is so large, we have to accommodate the buses coming from all the far edges into Middleborough, and that takes approximately 20 minutes. We have the buses that do the high school run before the middle school run, and then we've got to get those buses back out with a quick turnabout so they can get to the elementary school run. During that time, that 20 minutes, we also allow for that free breakfast period. So students can come in if they want to get breakfast, but their goal is to eat quick and then get to homeroom so they can be prepared to learn for the day. And then we also need an intervention block, which is to support students' more individualized needs. Some students need to be pushed harder, some students need some intervention, some students need some support strategies. So we have that period built into our schedule to support all of our learners. Remote at home, my husband yells at me. Mr. Tucker doesn't make it fun. Well, there are a couple things that we needed or we wanted. When we talked to the educators, we had a few things that they wanted in the schedule.
slide you want?
No, go back to, I'm sorry, one more. I think I was out of order. Okay. When we talk about a rotation in the schedule, that means, unlike what you typically have in elementary school at 9 a.m., you have math every day at 9 a.m., Monday through Friday. It's a little bit different when we're here at the middle school. We want math to fall in each of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blocks, because different kids learn better at different times. And by waterfalling, that's what we'll call it, that schedule through, it capitalizes on the strengths of students across the day. Maybe you have a kid who comes in because they are not awake. Or maybe you've got that spring chicken who is up and out of bed, ready to go, and then by the afternoon they're dragging a little bit. By having that waterfall, we make sure every class falls in every block. By adding that intervention time, we don't have it what's called stagnant. It's not just at the same time every day. We have it in the morning times. And it also allows for our ensembles or just our band to have greater flexibility in the schedule. If you go forward 2, please. Yep, perfect. So the way I'm going to describe the schedule, I'm going to tell you what it sounds like first, and then I'm going to show you what it looks like in a visual. We have a 6-day, 6-block schedule. So when your students arrive at 7:35, at 7:55 they have a 2-minute transition to get to their next class. That first block class starts at 7:57. Then you have all of your classes. You have 6 classes in that day. And then our schedule runs on 6 days. A, B, C, D, E, F. A, B, C, D, E, F. And in that, what you want to know is our schedule does not follow Monday through Friday. So if you think about it, if it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Monday, that's our 6 days. So it takes 6 weeks to go through the full rotation. As long as there isn't a Monday holiday or a Friday professional development day or any of those things. So it is a 6-block, 6-day. The average class length is 53 to 54 minutes. Now in that time, we have what I need. In the morning, 1 day a week, there's an additional 26 minutes connected to a class. And that is for us to be able to provide some additional academic target time for students who need, maybe your child needs to work on some solving linear equations. Maybe your child needs to work on math fluency in problem solving. We look at student data and figure out what does your child need, and we group students with like needs to target that skill in about a 6 to 8 week period, so that way we can hit the skill, move on. Hit the skill, move on. It is intended to be quick and to move through. The other thing we have is that rotation, that waterfall. Teachers will have prep periods. Teachers will have duty periods. In our last schedule, we needed to develop a schedule when I first came in because we needed to readjust some of our time on learning. And when we did that, we were missing a block of time that we built in that win time last year, but we missed an additional time for teachers to have grade level PLC. A PLC is a professional learning community. And during that time, the teachers work together to look at your students' STAR data. So students take STAR reading, STAR math, very similar to elementary school. And we look at what do those kids need? Who might be having trouble in this area? Who might need to be pushed in this area? What does that mean? We wanted to make sure teachers had duty. We want more teachers available to supervise in the building, because the more eyes you have, the less that can happen, because we have more people to catch it. Or, if you know there are more people watching, you won't even try it, which is what we're really hoping to get. The next part is a stagnant lunch. Last year's schedule, lunch either started at 10:11 or it started at 10:41. It was part of that rotation way too early. Nobody wants to eat that early. So now lunches will start at 11:06. So we moved it at least almost like that, that time. And they're set in time. They're not switching on A day or B day. So we have those 3:30-minute lunches in a chunk right now. And we wanted some additional time to support students. So we created that advisory block. So when students are in advisory block, teachers are having that duty time or they're in that professional learning time. So that's the function of what that is. Next, please. Okay, so the way I talked about this is called the bell schedule. Not what happens in the bells. Those are the color-coded matrix that you guys will have. This is just the basic bell schedule. And the basic bell schedule is just the times that we have. There's a 7:35 to 7:55 homeroom. We have that first block, 7:57 to 8:50, but what you'll notice is WIN is for 26 minutes in that. Then you have another 53-minute block, another 53-minute block. Then you see those 3 stagnant lunches. So 11:06, 11:36, or 12:36. If your student's not in lunch, they're in an academic period. What is going to be new this year? So if I have any students in 7th or 8th grade here, I hate to disappoint you, but this is going to happen. We are going to put you in lunch. You're going to eat by homerooms. So the reason for that, there are actual reasons. It's not just because I'm trying to be mean or take you away from friends. What is really important is we've spent a lot of time building the schedule for students to be seated with students that they know. We've gotten feedback from elementary school teachers, all of those things. I'll talk about how we build the schedule after. But we want students to come in. It's either you have first lunch, which will be 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, and then through the trimesters we rotate because the students who have the middle lunch, that academic block is 90 minutes. It's broken into 30 because of lunch in the middle. So we want to rotate who gets that opportunity to have that lunch. And then you'll notice 12:36 we have a next block academic, and we have 1 extra minute. So we attach it to the last block because that's when we're going to dismiss and exit the building. Just so you're aware about dismissal. At 2:25, now for the first couple days of school, 6th grade, we're going to give you some additional dismissal time. But on the microphone, Mr. Corrales, he announces to the building, 6th grade walkers, students, and parent pickups, you may exit the building. So students exit the building. We'll have people on staff to monitor. We have people on duty to successfully help everybody exit the building. At 2:26, we dismiss 7th grade. 2:28, we dismiss 8th grade. And at 2:31, the buses are rolling out and most of the parent pickups are clear. So we clear about 700 students in about 6 minutes, which it is done safely. We actually do a pretty great job of that. So this is the bell schedule. This is just what happens as the bell schedule. Now we're going to talk a little bit about what happens during those classes. Next, please. Okay. We're going to talk a little bit about that wing block. The purpose of wing block is to provide students with opportunities for targeted interventions to address their individualized learning needs. It does not mean that students have learning deficiencies. Sometimes we have different skills that we all need to target. Nobody's good at everything. We always can work on something. There's always a skill that we can improve, be it incorporating transition words into our writing, or our stamina in writing, or the use of descriptive words when writing a paragraph. Maybe it's grammar and conventions. We have additional things that can happen during that win time. If you have a student who receives service delivery, if your child has special education service delivery that occurs in that C grid, if you're a parent with an IEP and you have that matrix page, the top one is for adults to talk, the middle section is for what's happening in the general education classroom, that bottom grid, that C grid, is specialized services delivered from that special education professional. We also have opportunities for repetitious instruction. We have opportunities to expand concept knowledge. And we have executive functioning supports. I'm very excited. This year we bought paper agendas for every single student. Thank you. Yeah, you can cheer. There are people in the room. I think it's awesome. And what we have in that advisory class will also be the time to teach students how to use it. It's great if we bought you the book, but it's not great if we don't teach you how to use it. So we are actively looking at how to support developing executive functioning skills. Because when you tell me, any parent in here says, my kid forgot their homework, the dog didn't quite eat it, we're not quite sure, we never quite get anything perfectly done, excellent. Your children are not supposed to have executive functioning skills. Executive functioning skills are not solidified until 26 years old. Your children are far from 26 years old. So when you call me and say, Dr. Tucker, my kid can't, I'm going to say, absolutely they can. They're not supposed to yet. But in these formidable developmental years, we're going to teach those skills to your children. And so we're starting by creating those functions and systems to be able to do so. One of those is the paper agenda, because we're going to teach you how to take responsibility and autonomy for your learning. Next, please. Okay, our students have unified arts. So you will have in your 6 blocks, you'll have math, English, science, social studies. Then you'll have unified arts. PE happens year-round for every student. Then students in the trimesters will have art, music, health, research and technical writing, STEM, which is actually a science, technology, engineering, and math class. And in that time, for STEM, students are learning that design engineering process. We're starting to teach those critical thinking skills of, I'm just not going to take a bunch of wood and build a doghouse because I'm just cutting and chopping and gluing and nailing. We actually have to think about what's that plan. How are you going to execute that plan? How are you going to evaluate if that plan makes sense? And we are teaching 6th grade students, you are about to embark on a whole journey about your learning. And we're going to teach you those steps and those processes and strategies to learn. Next, please. Okay, this now is your sample student schedule. This is kind of the meat and potatoes to that bell schedule. So every student's assigned to a homeroom. That's again that top block, 7:35 to 7:55. It happens all of the 6 days of our cycle. You'll notice I'm calling it a cycle, not days of the week, because remember, those don't match. So, I have an invented son. His name is Timmy Tucker. I don't actually have a son named Timmy, but you'll hear me when I reference something about Timmy. Timmy has either a really good boy or a really bad boy, or he has a kid with a lot of needs. But Timmy Tucker, this is his schedule. So Timmy comes in and he goes to his cluster and he has English first on this day A. Then he goes to his math class. Then he's going to go to lunch, and then he's going to go to advisory. Advisory is going to be 53 minutes. Then the students are going to regroup during that wind block for 26 minutes. He's going to be grouped with that skill development that he needs. Then he's going to head to science. Maybe Timmy is a 7th grade student, so he's going to start in science. He's going to go have lunch. He's going to go back to science. Then he'll have social studies. And then he'll have that UA class. And then what you'll notice, so if you follow the 6th block here, it starts with the 6th block on the next day. And this is how we build that waterfall. So it goes 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Does that make sense? Okay, super. So, in this time, what you will notice is your student has either UA or advisory. There will be 3 blocks. Now, because advisory was brand new, it was something that we've never built into our matrix before, we were having trouble loading kids into advisory. So I sent out an email yesterday saying you'll see 3 white blocks in your child's schedule. Those are those 3 advisory times. Those will be the times your child has advisory. We just don't have a link to which teacher or which classroom yet. So that time when you see it will be advisory. We just couldn't link exactly for Timmy Tucker to get to Dr. Tucker's class. So you'll see, again, if you watch the light ELA, you can see how that water falls across the 6-day cycle. So everything falls within that 6 days. And then same thing. If it's social studies, it goes 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. So this is the contents, this is the meat that happens within the bell schedule. Next, please. Okay. So, in case you did not know, we are the Nichols Tigers. For those of you who are new to the Nichols School, we have Tiger Tuesday, so if you'd like to wear anything orange and black or anything tiger print, feel free. You can wear anything Middleborough. It's really just an orange and black day. So as the Tigers, you'll hear more, and we'll talk more, at open house and things like that about Tiger Stripes and our incentive plans and what that looks like. With the teachers, duties will rotate within the schedule. Teachers will have equal duties within the rotation. PLCs so that teachers will have that professional learning time twice in that cycle, and they will either be by their grade level, by their cluster, or by their curriculum department. So sometimes we have something where we need all of the grade level teachers at the same time. We haven't always had a chance for that. Sometimes we want to meet by cluster, and if we're meeting by cluster, Mr. Prue may be with A cluster, I might be with B cluster, Dr. Gonzalez will be with C cluster, and we are going to talk to the teachers about whatever it is that we may need to deliver. Your students will be, if they're on advisory, there are things they may be getting some academic support. If your student's in an ensemble, which is band, orchestra, or chorus, they may receive that during advisory block, or out of the 6 wind blocks, we may use 2 of the wind blocks for the ensembles to meet. We want to make sure students access music. Music is very, very important. Everybody's good at all different things. We want to make sure that kids get connected to the things that make them happy and bring them joy. Again, advisory can be used for service delivery. There may be some unified sports activities. We do have some students with disabilities in the building, and we are creating some unified PE classes where we have students working together in that PE class. We have some students that need social skills groups. We may have students that, through our panorama data we've identified, need a little distress tolerance or need some anxiety management. We're going to work on executive functioning. There's going to be some very specific expectations. When you walk into advisory, you take out your agenda. You open Aspen. Are you missing anything? If you're missing anything, go to your Google Classroom. Did you turn it in? Did you hit send? Because remember, our executive functioning is not intact. So maybe we did, and we didn't just hit send. So we're going to teach students the processes to go and check these things. There'll also be an opportunity to teach how to email. You know, sometimes I get like principal, blah, 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 blah. Whoa, hold on, check. Let's try that again. There's a way in which we communicate in writing for different purposes. We're going to do some of that work. And then sometimes we just know that it's getting to the end of the semester. We just need, a block to try and finish a test or a block to finish a something. But really, this is intended to be an instructional basic time. The other thing that we are expecting to do is we are Character Strong. I know you've heard about Middleborough Strong and Character Strong. They actually have some anti-bullying lessons that we're going to do. We have some self-esteem lessons that we want to be able to teach, some perspective-taking lessons that we're going to teach. So that is a time for us to actually address that level of skill development as well. Next, please. Okay. So I want to tell you a little bit about the process, because the schedule is extremely complex. And we put a lot of careful thought, time, and energy to scheduling your child to meet with success. And I know sometimes, Timmy Tucker wants to be with Susie Sunshine. They're best friends. They've been best friends since kindergarten. They've been every class here. Oh my gosh. Cell phone. We're not supposed to have cell phone. And it's spam. So, what we've done, starting in the spring, we start our scheduling process in the spring. Like March, April, we engage in these discussions. We get feedback from HBB and MKG. Those teachers tell us, students, these are really good working partners. These, maybe not. We ask our teachers for some feedback of, can students be in the same cluster? Just not the same class. Can students be in the same classes? Or can they not be in clusters at all? Which is also part of why we're going to be doing lunches by homeroom. Because we know there are some students that we need to keep separate from one another, just out of positiveness. Let's leave it at that. So we get feedback from the cluster teachers. The cluster teachers give us feedback on students. Elementary school teachers, UA teachers, the special education department puts a lot of effort into making sure service deliveries are there. We're looking at 504 plans. We are looking at student needs. And then we have some students where there are some formal keepaways where students cannot be placed together for various reasons. So that's one of the first things is information gathering. And I know it's a little tight to see, and I'm hoping some of the adults in the audience appreciate this, but we have Rachel Green, Jennifer Anderson, Chandler Bing, and Matthew Perry. They might be allowed to be on a cluster together, but what you can see is Jennifer and Chandler are on an IEP. They're in a program, they require inclusion services. We know Matthew, he requires algebra, so at 7th grade or 8th grade, some students either are in pre-algebra or algebra versus just the general content math. Then, in the next cluster, we have Monica Geller, Courtney Cox, Ross Geller, David Schwimmer. And what we notice is Monica Geller and Ross Geller are siblings, but they should be the same cluster, but different classes. We also know that we have to remember that David has algebra, Ross has algebra and orchestra. So when we look at Ross, he gets a little bit more complex because he needs orchestra, and he needs algebra, and away from his sister. So then we have our third cluster, where we have Phoebe Buffet, Lisa Kudrow, Matthew Tribbiani, and Matthew LeBlanc. And what you'll notice against Matthew is he really needs to be in a different class than Chandler Bing. They might not play so nice together for several reasons. So with that, we take this information, we take the feedback from those other, from the educators, from the stayaways, from the IEPs, from the 504s, from the math levels, and then we also try and balance males, females, how many kids need algebra, how many kids in a cluster. So when you think about this, we have 700 students. So each of the 700 student needs all 4 academics. They need their UAs. They need to make sure that they're scheduled to be able to get their orchestra, their band, all of those parts and pieces. We know that we have to, and this is just placement. This is just organizing. Each class, each grade level has about 230 to 250 students. So we need to organize those across 3 teams, trying to balance this kind of information. Next, please. So the next thing we do is we hand schedule quite a few sections. Because if you're a student with a disability that needs to access orchestra, but you also need inclusion support for math, science, social studies, and math, science, social studies, English, the 4 contents. What I do is I look at which team's a co-taught team, which one is not a co-taught team, and I start mapping out, okay, I know Team A at the top, they have prep, all 2nd block, they have advisory in all 4th block. I know that I need to look at, if you look at this middle block, okay, I know that special education teacher has to have ELA then. In the first block, she has to have math in the 2nd block, and then 3rd, and then we know that the pre-algebra math has to be locked in too. So now every teacher, there's about 12 teachers per team, so 36 teachers. We do this for 36 teachers to include then the special education teacher and where the ESPs are. So we're now adding more of those constraints. And then separate from this, we have to master all of the UA rotations to make sure they all get their preps and their planning. We need at least 9 teachers on duty at a time for UAs to function. So, and then they all need their planning time, things like that too. Next, please. So then we have to factor that tiger, the teacher duty, the advisories, who's on, who's off, who's where, when can they have, which teachers are available for all of the lunch blocks, when do we have UAs, because we want to make sure that the building is covered by everybody. And while you don't really need to know what this is just another factor of, I need to know where all 12 to 14 teachers are in a grade level, and I have to make sure that I leave space for the special education teachers to do their special education, service delivery, and meeting student needs. The other thing is department heads. Because they supervise, larger groups of teachers, they get additional cleaning time, so that's another thing to factor in. Next, please. Okay. Oh, yeah. So when you ask me, can I have a cluster change? I just need you to know, most likely, your answer is going to be no, because we've been doing this since April, May, and these are all the factors that go into it. It is not as simple as picking up Timmy Tucker and Susie Sunshine and just doing a swap. Because what you might not know, and we can't share with you, is Timmy Tucker is a student with disabilities who needs all 4 sections covered, and he needs this and he needs that. And, you know, Susie Sunshine can't be paired with these other kids. It's just not that simple. And so what I want you to know is if we say to you we're not able to do that, it is because we put so much effort into looking at your child, taking feedback that people have given about what makes your child successful and all the things that we know that your child wants to have to be successful, that we're not going to be able to accommodate. So I don't say that in meanness, I just want you to understand like the factors that go into it. Other questions or things that I wanted you to know. When you look at that schedule, you'll notice that there are 2 minutes of transition time built between academics. We did not build that into lunch. So while the teachers need 30 minutes to eat lunch, your kids are done in 11. Your kids take 11 minutes to eat, and trust me, because I timed them, it takes us about 11 minutes to get the 200 kids through the lunch line. With this free lunch, there's a lot of kids who get lunch. We were able to clear about 200 kids in lunch in 11 minutes. Your kids are done in 11 minutes. That gives us 22 minutes. And then it becomes idle time. And we know what happens with our loves who want to talk with their friends during idle time. So we have built transition to lunch and from lunch, those 4 minutes, we have built into their lunch time. If your student is somebody who is a 504, a diabetic, or something that has a medical need and they need to eat ahead of people, we know that. We plan for that. Somehow that table's called first for lunch every single time. You know, we are aware of who needs what. We take care of those things. Or, you know, if their whole table maybe isn't acting the way in which we would like them, so maybe we're not going to send them with all their yayas and extra energy to go through the lunch line just yet. That child will be able to get food. We will never withhold food from your children. I promise you they'll eat. But you need to know that you may hear at times we've allowed kids to bring Chromebooks to the cafeteria, you know, to play some computer games. I very much say your computers, particularly for 6th grade, are closed until you go through that cafeteria lunch line. And once you go through that cafeteria lunch line, if you've eaten, then we allow you to. There are times that if the kids are in their computer games and they are not eating, I make them close and I make them eat. Babies, you're here to eat. You get to nurse your brains, close those computers, get that food in your belly. You'll hear us talk about that. So those are just some general schedule questions. So I think, if you want to just go to the last slide. Any questions? And we can turn up the lights, and that way then I can see you. Okay, whoa, their hands are flying fast. Hold on. Okay. Let's just get us the lights up so I can. I think it's the top button. Here we are. Okay. Wow. Okay. Yes, we have a question.
As far as going to a locker, they have a locker, are they supposed to go to the period, or at the beginning or the end?
So the question is about lockers.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so students have that first 20 minutes when they come in. We ask students not to carry their backpacks. They can bring string bags. And one of the reasons why is we love your children. They're in a very developmental stage of proprioception that when they have a backpack that's like a turtle shell on their back and they want to say hi to their friend and they turn, they just wiped out a whole hallway full of kids. So we have kids use string bags. What we're going to do is students will have time. That's why there's that extra minute at the end of the day. When kids are getting back from lunch, they'll be able to stop at their locker, grab what they need. The teachers help facilitate that, so there is locker time. Do not be worried about the locks themselves. It's a practice thing. It's okay. Like you can, if you have worry work, you can, go to CVS or Walmart. You can get one just to practice. But we'll go over that with the students. At the start of the year, every kid gets assigned a locker. Everybody gets assigned a lock, and the teacher has the combination, and we get the combination. So if you happen to forget, don't worry, we got you. If you have a student with some fine motor challenges or some other reason where manipulating the lock is too much and you use a key, that's okay. We just ask for the second key to be kept in the office. Yes.
I am Aspen, and it says, I have one child coming to 6 and one to 7.
Yep.
It says, one's gonna be on bus 15 and one's on bus 12.
The buses have not been released yet. I released the schedules. The bus stuff will be updated in a couple days. I just did schedule, but I can't lock individual pieces of Aspen, so buses are not released yet.
Okay, and how do I know if one's in band? The percussion last year, is that automatic?
So we automatically, anybody in 5th grade who was in band or orchestra, and I know we're building the choral program, we automatically enrolled you unless you asked us not to. Okay, there's another question here.
About when, can they switch instruments instead of going into the new grade, like, so she did cello last year.
Oh, that's a good question. Before you go, I'm gonna get we have a running pad of paper, and I'll ask you to just give us that name. So the question was, do you want to switch instruments? Are we able to do that? I just don't have the answer. I need to get the answer, but that's okay. What other questions do we have? Yes.
This is his third year in Middleborough, and I struggle with technology.
Yep.
I could not log into Aspen yesterday.
So if you were, very common right now, we're getting quite a few emails about Aspen. Katie Goodine is in central office. She is our Aspen lady. She is everything Aspen. This woman is lovely. We'll get your name and your email. One of the things I do ask is, not everybody's child has the same last name as they are, so if you give me your name, it's harder for me to find your child. But if you can give me your first and last name, your child's first and last name, then I'm able to do it. It just makes the process easier. But Katie will be in the office tomorrow. She's been out for the past couple days. You can email her at katiegoodine@middleborough.k12.ma.us. Don't feel like you have to remember that. And she will help parents get into logins. If you are a 5th grade parent, the same login you use to access report cards is the same one you use to access your child's schedule. So if you happen to have that, and then if there are kids in 7th or 8th grade, you should be able to use your Aspen login to get into your schedule. 6th graders, don't worry. You've not been taught Aspen yet. We do not expect you to know it yet. In the first week of school, we're going to go over how to log into those things. We'll give you your logins. We will help you. You are not expected to know that right now. Any other questions? All right, in the back.
So what about like after school sport? What if we have?
Okay. This is a great question about after-school activities. One of the things I love about Nichols is there is something for everybody. We have, the formal athletics. We have soccer, cross country. We have girls and boys soccer. We have the cross country. I believe it's cross country. We have intramural sports for students who are not looking to be as competitive. We have a chess club, a GSA club, a builders club, an art club. There's the theater program, thank you, yes. So they do a musical, and they also do a play, so they do 2 performances. If you are somebody who does not feel like they are going to be good standing in front of an audience and presenting, there are other things that you can do. You can be on the set crew, you can be on the lights, you can run the board like Mr. Crock is doing. You can move sets. They have a little bit of everything for everybody. That information will be coming out to you once school's up and running. Okay, my friends back there. I'm going to give the kids one more, and then I have a parent with another one.
Do you have volleyball?
I do believe there's volleyball in the fall and the spring, but don't hold me to it. I have to double check. You had your hand up.
Yeah, when will the 6th grade schedules be posted in Aspen?
So the 6th grade schedules were posted in Aspen last night.
Okay.
Yep.
I can get in and see the cluster, but not her schedule.
It might be what I would check, because, okay, In Aspen, you have, it should be, I think, a side tab that says schedule.
Yep.
And when you click schedule, it should populate, you want to look for the matrix. So the matrix should have that schedule. If not, put your name on the list and we'll help you out tomorrow. Yes, sir.
Is there any core changes from last year to this year as far as the schedule is concerned, or is it just pretty much the same?
So those core changes are, we shortened blocks of time. We moved WIN to just the morning. Lunch is stagnant. We added that additional block of time where students either have a UA or an advisory. So we added a sixth block, and we added a sixth block to the schedule. Ma'am in the back and a young man.
Who do you reach out to if your child doesn't want to be in a band?
So what you'll do is if you put your name on the list and you just write music, we'll follow up with people tomorrow, and at least it'll let me know what kind of questions I'm asking.
Okay.
What's up, buddy?
So when are we going through when like the band and the orchestra, the after school thing?
So that's such a good question. So when students come to school on the 4th, we will tell you when your band class is going to land, whether you have it during WIN, whether you have it during advisory. And usually the after-school activities start, the formal sports I think start like the second week of school, and we're setting up the rotation of, we try not to schedule like art club and GSA and chess club all on the same days, so students get to track, but we haven't set up our rotation. Other questions? Yes? Yes, we won't start the clubs unless we have the late bus starting. Last year, late bus was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I anticipate the same Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We coordinate with the high school because they do their late bus route and then the late bus comes here. A little bit about the late bus. The late bus, for students that are either after school for an activity or the unfortunate moment where maybe we had an absent judgment and we're here for detention. Some students after school, the late bus leaves at about between 4 and 4:15. There are 4 late buses. With the 4 late buses, we have a teacher on duty. Students will come no matter what activity they were after school for, and we have them check one of the books for their address. They write their address on a slip. We make sure that everybody gets a bus pass, everybody puts their address on it when they get on the bus, so we make sure they get on the right bus. They give the slips to the driver, who looks at where everybody is, and kind of organizes the route and takes off. Is there another question? Okay. Yes, please. Thank you.
Back to after-school sports. So I know like the soccer tryouts start the first day of school, so the boys are trying out against their soccer backpacks, cleats and everything.
Yep.
What do they do?
Good question. Okay, so for students, this is related to students who may be doing after-school activities and have a big backpack with a soccer ball and smelly cleats and all of those things that aren't going to fit in a locker. Students will come down. We have a staff, we do have a staff member present at the locker room doors. Students go in, drop off their backpacks, and they head to homeroom or to breakfast, depending upon the time. In the back, ma'am.
Yeah, I just have a question. So I have an incoming sixth grader, but I'm not receiving any emails. I didn't know if that's something that I have to email her or.
So what I learned was when I sent class tags, I sent a class tag, and I didn't realize the sixth grade because I could view you all in Aspen. We weren't connected to class tag yet. When I sent the schedule release, I thought because the schedule had been committed that you were all in there. That was not so. So I sent an Aspen email. If you got an Aspen email last night at like 9, I think I see people nodding. So like, yes, I was on the couch going, oh my God, I gotta get this out. This is gonna go. So if you didn't get that, put your name on the list so we can find out what's going on. Okay, and let's see. Question. Okay, so we're not gonna do it because in the handbook, that's been in the handbook, there are no phones. The expectation is you enter the building, you shut off that phone goes in your bag. You do not need your phones here in school. Parents, don't text your kids during the day. Please, your kids are supposed to be learning. I know I have a kid in high school, and I also have to reserve myself from texting during the day. If your child needs to reach you, and we totally understand that kids are either walking home, they're going with a friend, like, we're not going to take away phones per se, but you don't need them during the learning time. If your kid does need to reach you, they can come to the office, they can call you, we will never stop that. If you need to get a message to your kid, you call the office, we get that message to your child, we get the message, we call the classroom. If we need to, we say, can you please send, Timmy Tucker to the office, Dr. Tucker's on the phone with him. So we're able to do that. And at the end of the day, when the kids exit the building, that's a little bit different, but the rules on the bus are the same ones that apply in school. The other, we don't want phones going to the bathroom. We don't want phones in the cafeteria. And we also, if your kid's not feeling well, we don't want them to text you from the bathroom for you to come pick them up. We want to know your kid doesn't feel well so we can help them. It's really hard if we don't know. So we want to go through the appropriate channels of go to the nurse. Go, ask your teacher to go to the nurse. Come to the office. Let us know. Let us help you. Because we're responsible for your kids, and if somebody doesn't feel well, they eventually want to know so we can help them. But that was a good question. Any other questions? Ooh, okay, in the back.
Medication to drop off. When is the day for that?
So we are in the process of hiring a nurse. I will get back to you. We will send, when I send a communication out, hopefully right at the start of the school year, we'll talk about when the nurse is available for medications. Okay. I see people starting to get a little itchy. Are there any other questions? I am, sorry, my dear. I missed you. I apologize. Oh, library time, another great question. Okay, so for the library, when you come in off the bus, the librarian will be there her name is Miss Walgreen, from 7:35 to 7:55. If you have a bus that comes in hot at 7:55, we'll also find different times during advisory. Ms. Walgreen will also be pushing into classrooms, working with your teachers around research and how to use those research skills. Just because it's the first thing that pops up in Google does not mean it's the right one or the things that we should be using. So we have some times that will be scheduled, but we'll push that out to you guys. Great question, glad to hear. And I have to say, she's excellent with connecting with our public library and asking public library to hold the book if there's something that we don't have. Okay, my dear. So I am not everything soccer, but for tryouts, I do know there's a process. Students go through tryouts. People get an email to let you know whether you made the team or not. I don't know the details around it. I just know that you will be communicated with. Okay, in the